What is going on, you guys? It's your girl Diana, back at you with another YouTube video. These 7-star Decidueye Raids have recently been announced and they're only 10 days away. So to give you ample time to prepare, yesterday while I was live streaming on Twitch, me and my community members came up with what we think are going to be some of the best counters in order for you to take down this raid. So let's go ahead and hop into the raid counters. So let's go ahead and take a look at what exactly we're going to be going up against during these raids. So of course this is going to be a 7-star raid, so Decidueye will be level 100 and is normally a grass ghost dual type. However, during these raids it will have the flying Terra type. And EV spread wise, Decidueye does have an HP stat of 78, an attack stat of 107, defense stat of 75, a special attack stat of 100, a special defense stat of 100, and a speed stat of 70. So Decidueye is definitely a mixed attacker, with it having a special attack stat of 100 and an attack stat of 107. So it's fair to say that it could definitely use both types of attacks during the raids. It is also a little bit stronger on the special defense side than the defense side, so it may be a little bit wiser to bring physical attackers versus special attackers. However, there's not too crazy much of a difference, so both are still pretty viable. But moveset wise, we are looking at a Pokemon that can not only learn grass and ghost type moves, but it can also learn flying and, the big kicker, fighting type moves. But for the moves that I think it's most likely to have, I think it's definitely going to have Spirit Shackle, seen as that is Decidueye's signature attack, which is a physical ghost type attack. And considering that it is a flying Terra type, it is absolutely going to have at least one flying type move, if not multiple, because we know that these things can learn more than 4 moves. The two most likely that I can see it having are either Acrobatics or Brave Bird. And of course, it's definitely going to have some type of grass move most likely as well, seeing as it is normally a grass type, so I can see something like Leaf Blade being on there too. Other moves that I can see them throwing on there are things like Sucker Punch, Low Kick being one of those big fighting moves that could be an issue, as well as Low Sweep, so it does have 2 fighting type options. I could also see Leaf Storm or Hurricane being on there, or even something like Nasty Plot. So definitely a good variety of moves that we're going to have to think about before we bring in any raid counters, especially since it does have access to those fighting type moves, which means if you were thinking about bringing a rock type to combat its flying type, it would be able to hit your rock types for super effective damage. But now that we know exactly what we're going up against, let's go ahead and take a look at what me and my community came up with for some counters. Before we dive into these counters, I would like to kindly ask that if you do find this video helpful in any way, that you consider subscribing, since I do work hard to put out 2 videos a day for you guys, so you can always stay up to date with the latest Pokemon news. And if you are already subscribed and you would like another way to support the channel, I do also have my merch store. I have some really fun stuff that I just added on there, so feel free to check that out as well. But thank you again for your continued support, and let's go ahead and hop into these counters. So for our counter options, we went ahead and came up with a special attacking option, a physical attacking option, and 2 support Pokemon. That way we have all our bases covered, and we're ready for whatever we might have to deal with going into these raids. I will say, try not to pay too much attention to the Terra types of these Pokemon, just because ideally you are going to want to take out Decidueye before it has a chance of putting up its shield if you are working in a group, since all of these builds do rely on working in a group. But don't worry, I'll come up with another option if you are trying to solo the raids as well. But starting off with our special attack option, we have Rotom Heat, which is an electric and fire type. We went ahead and threw Life Orb on it, since if you are bringing Rotom Heat, you are going to be the designated attackers, so you're going to want to hit as hard as possible. Rotom's ability doesn't really come into play in this raid, so it doesn't really matter, but EV spread wise, we did go ahead and max out its HP, and of course its special attack, as well as give it a special attacking nature, just because, like I said, you want this thing to hit as hard as possible. We're trying to one-shot this thing if possible, because things start to get a little sketchy once that shield goes up, because that's when you have to start terastallizing and it's no fun for anyone. But moveset wise, we went ahead and threw Discharge, Nasty Plot, Will-O-Wisp, and Thunder Wave on there. Of course, the 2 main moves that you are going to want to focus on for this build are going to be Nasty Plot and Discharge. So essentially, while your support Pokemon are lowering its special defense, you're going to want to go ahead and set up your Nasty Plots and then hit it with a Discharge so you can pack that big punch and hopefully take it out without breaking a sweat. For our physical attacking option, we went with this gen's pseudo-legendary Baxcalibur, which is a dragon and ice type. We went ahead and threw a wide lens on there, and you'll see why in just a moment. Once again, Baxcalibur's ability doesn't really come into play in this raid, so it doesn't really matter, but for its EV spread, we did go ahead and max out its HP as well as its attacks, since of course we want this thing to hit hard just like we wanted Rotom to hit hard. And for Baxcalibur's nature, we actually focused on a defense nature just to beef up its defenses a little bit, since an attacking nature wouldn't make too terribly much of a difference, so it was better to invest in a different stat. But moveset wise, we went ahead and threw Dragon Claw on there, Icicle Crash, Brick Break and Sword Dance. And I'm sure now you can see why we threw Wide Lens on it, for that Icicle Crash. So here, just like Rotom, ideally the two moves that you are going to want to focus on are Swords Dance and Icicle Crash. And once again, while your support Pokemon are doing their thing, lowering Decidueye's defenses, you're going to want to go ahead and set up your Sword Dance and then go for that Icicle Crash to once again pack that big punch and hopefully take it out in one hit. Icicle Crash does have a 90% accuracy, hence why we threw Wide Lens on it, just to make sure that we're not going to miss at a critical point in the raid. I will also note that Brick Break is on there just because Decidueye can learn Light Screen, so if Decidueye does end up setting up a screen, you are able to break it. So those are going to be the two options that we came up with if you do want to be the designated attacker. However, if you are more comfortable with being a support Pokemon, we do have options for you as well. Our first option being Repparoom, which is a Steel and Poison type. I went ahead and threw a Citrus Berry on this guy just to help it regain some HP, and EV spread wise, of course, maxing out HP and defense and giving it a defense nature. And once again, ability doesn't really come into play here. For Repparoom's moveset, we went ahead and went with Screech, Acid Spray, Iron Head, and Taunt. Repparoom is actually great because it does get access to both Screech and Acid Spray, which Screech is going to go ahead and lower Decidueye's defenses, while Acid Spray is going to go ahead and lower Decidueye's special defense. So it's a very versatile support Pokemon. You can bring it with either a special attacker or a physical attacker. Iron Head is there if you need an attacking move for whatever reason, and Taunt is there in case it does have something like Nasty Plot. And our second option that we came up with is Belly Bolt. But Belly Bolt is a pure electric type and is also holding a Citrus Berry. Healing items are going to be great for support Pokemon just to increase their longevity. EV wise, once again, HP and defense are going to be maxed out with a defense nature. We want these guys to be bulky. They're supposed to be little tanks. But moveset wise, we went ahead and went with Acid Spray, Reflect, Slack Off, and Chilling Water. Now, Belly Bolt is pretty versatile as a support Pokemon as well, since it does get access to Acid Spray just like Repparoom, which will lower Decidueye's special defense. However, it also gets access to Chilling Water, which actually cuts Decidueye's attack. It also has Slack Off, so it is able to restore its own HP as well, and Reflect to of course set up screens to protect everyone else from getting hit by any physical attacks. So between Chilling Water and Reflect, you'll basically be taking minimal damage from any physical attacks. And if you're able to set up a couple of Acid Sprays and you bring a special attacker, boom, you're good to go. But there you have it. Those are going to be the options that me and my community have come up with for these 7-star Decidueye raids. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful. I have linked my socials down below if you would like to join the community as well. And a huge shout out to those community members who I did work closely with in order to build these Pokemon to share with all of you, who I've listed in the description as well. But thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to those of you who have joined the channel as members. I appreciate you all so much. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.